Hello, this is Sondra Oster Baras, bringing you a few words of Bible from the heart of Biblical Israel. This week's Torah portion is Vayakhel, and it, together with next week's Torah portion, represent the final chapters of the book of Exodus, all of which are devoted to the actual building and construction of the tabernacle, all the vessels within it. And of course, we already learned a few weeks ago about what is required, what are all the vessels, but here we see everything actually being executed. And I'd like to focus on, in chapter 35, verses 20 until the end of the chapter, verses 20 through 35. And here the chapter begins, this is actually the chapter of like, let's get started kind of stuff. So the chapter begins, so the whole community of the Israelites left Moses' presence, and everyone who excelled in ability and everyone whose spirit moved him came, bringing to the Lord his offering. And we have here a list of all the different things that were donated to the tabernacle and all the different people who donated and how it was done. And one of the things that I noticed here, first of all, one of the things that's very clear about this is that people are doing whatever they can. People have different talents. People have different possessions. And everybody is bringing what they can. So, for example, it begins with, in verse 21, everyone whose spirit moved him came. Okay? Everyone whose spirit moved him. It's based upon, and the word there this is how it's in my English, but I would actually translate this differently. Literally, it's everyone whose spirit has volunteered him. Okay, so there's this idea of giving or volunteering that is in this word. So it's your spirit who is prompting you to give. And it is very much based on that. And you see that word giving or volunteering coming up a few other times in this section. We see people who have jewelry, people who have particular fabrics, people who have money, gold, silver, copper, whatever they have, acacia wood. Everybody's bringing what they have. Now, as I read through this, and this is something you are not going to see in the English, because the English is giving a general translation rather than a literal translation, but I noticed that between verses 21 and 35, the word heart, lev, the word heart is mentioned exactly 7 times. Now, I'll get to the significance of 7 in a minute, but let's just see where all those times are. It begins in verse 21, everyone who excelled in ability. Now, this is one of the problems. There's words that include the word heart, and they're translated either those who have talents or those who excel in some way, but I would like to translate each of these literally because in each case, the word heart is there. So in verse 21, I would translate it, everyone whose heart carries him. Okay, in verse 22, all the women who are generous of heart. Okay, in verse 25, all women who have wisdom of heart in their hands. In other words, the idea here, yes, those are skilled weavers. Bring what they have woven, or they will weave for the tabernacle, but the actual words are wisdom of the heart. In verse 26, we have again this idea of their heart carrying them, those women whose heart have carried them with wisdom. In verse 29, all the men and women whose heart has brought them to give. Again, the English translation, it says whose hearts move them. Okay, well, that's closer. At least it has the word heart in it. But on all these places, we have the word for heart. In verse 31, okay, and here we're talking about the various crafts people who are actually going to be doing this stuff, to give directions as their heart has given, okay, as their heart has given. And in verse 35, fill them with the wisdom of the heart. My English says skill, endow them with skill. But here it is filling them with the wisdom of the heart. So here we have the word heart mentioned 7 times. Now, I have a Bible teacher who has done a great deal of study on the incidence of significant, what he would call key words throughout the Bible. And very often, finding a key word gives you some kind of key to understanding one of the most important, if not the most important message of a particular story or a particular section of the Bible. And it is, a key word is almost always found in multiples of 7, either 7 times in the story or in multiples of 7. 7 being a significant number in the Bible. Look, we know the creation was done in 7 days. 7 is considered also be to a number that expresses completion. There are a few other numbers that also express completion, but 7 is one of them. And of course, we see that in this idea of the week. There's a completion to creation completed with the 7th day, and we see the Shemitah cycle, the sabbatical year cycle, is also a cycle of 7, and this is and that's of course a cycle that has to do with the cycle of agriculture. So we see this idea of a completed cycle being associated with the number 7. So therefore, when we see a key word that appears 7 times in a particular text, it says something. It is significant. And I think the message here is clear. We see throughout this entire section how important it was that everybody bring whatever they can, whatever they can do, whatever their talents are. And it's all about the heart. This is not something that is imposed. It's not a tax. It is not, yes, it is an instruction for the nation to build the tabernacle. But how that nation will build the tabernacle is going to depend on the heart of each individual person within that nation. And I think this is a message that can transcend not only the building of the tabernacle, but it tells us a great deal about who we are as individuals and how we relate to the community or the nation that we are a part of. If we don't put our heart into our community, into our nation, into the people that we care most about, then there's going to be something lacking. So I want to wish everybody, find a way to put your heart into your family, into your community. And as I am always putting my heart into my family, my nation, my land, the people of Israel. Have a wonderful weekend. Shabbat Shalom.
I hope you enjoyed that video. And we'd like to be sure you're getting all of our video content. So just click on the subscribe button below, as well as on the notification bell. And that way you will have easy access to all our material. We look forward to staying in touch with you. God bless you, and have a wonderful day.